The story of this film takes place in 2016 when 47 criminals from South Korea who had fled to the Philippines were finally captured and brought back to South Korea on a plane. However, upon arrival at the airport, a terrible incident occurred when a man who was a member of a victim's family attempted to carry out a suicide bombing to take revenge on the criminals. This attack resulted in the deaths of several people, including the man who carried out the suicide bombing. The film then jumps to 2022, when the police managed to catch another group of 20 criminals from South Korea who had fled to the Philippines. In order to prevent another incident like the one in 2016, the South Korean government decided to bring back a group of dangerous criminals who fled to the Philippines by cargo ship. These criminals, including the notorious Park Jong-do who has been convicted of raping and killing 30 women, are considered to be the most dangerous and are assigned experienced, elite police officers to escort them. The ship departs from Manila and is headed for Busan. Jong-do does not show remorse for his crimes against women and insults the leader of the elite police team, Lee Sok-woo, before spitting on him. Sok-woo retaliates by beating Jong-do to show the other criminals that they should not underestimate the police. At the same time, a commando team led by Dae-woong at the Seoul police headquarters is seen overseeing and directing Sok-woo and his team, who will be escorting the criminals while they are at sea. The criminals are placed in cells where 2 prisoners share each one and are guarded by the police. Sok-woo gives the prisoners a set of rules to follow during the journey, but most of them resist and attempt to provoke him and his team. However, one male prisoner named Do-il remains calm and quiet, making him appear enigmatic. In addition to the male prisoners, Sok-woo and his team also guard several female prisoners, including Myung-ju, who was convicted of killing her husband and in-laws. Do-yeon, a female police officer, is responsible for monitoring Myung-ju and the other female prisoners. Kyung-ho is a medical officer on the cargo ship, assisted by a nurse named Yoon-ji. Despite appearing to be comfortable working together, Kyung-ho is hiding something from Yoon-ji. He has brought medical equipment and drugs that are not normally carried by doctors. In addition to Kyung-ho and Yoon-ji, the cargo ship is also staffed by cooks who will prepare food for the prisoners and the rest of the crew. While the kitchen staff serves the prisoners and police on duty, Kyung-ho secretly goes to the engine room carrying medical equipment and drugs. His mission is to inject the most dangerous criminal on the ship, nicknamed Alpha, with drugs to keep him asleep during the journey to Busan. Sok-woo and his team are unaware that there is a special prisoner, Alpha, secretly on board the cargo ship. This is because Dae-woong, who is seen in his office looking at classified documents about Alpha, a military prisoner, has a secret goal and does not want Sok-woo and his team to know about it. Meanwhile, at midnight, Jong-do uses a wire hidden in his mouth to unlock his handcuffs and frees himself. He then gives the wire to another prisoner to free themselves as well. It is revealed that the cooks on the cargo ship are actually Jong-do's subordinates in disguise, and they are ruthless criminals. After killing the real cooks and taking on their identities, they sneak onto the cargo ship to free Jong-do. As planned, Jong-do and his subordinates carry out their attack at midnight. They are caught by 2 police officers on guard, but they brutally kill the officers and put their bodies in the walk-in refrigerator. They then proceed to the ship's control room and kill the crew, cutting off all communication networks to prevent the police from calling Dae-woong and his team at the command center for help. Jong-do lures a policeman to open his cell, and when the policeman enters, Jong-do attacks and beats him brutally. His subordinates arrive and massacre the other police in the area, while Jong-do continues to torture and eventually stabs the policeman to death. Sok-woo, who has received a report about the attack, gathers his team, including Do-yeon, to fight against the criminals. Sok-woo and his team are surprised by an attack from Jong-do's subordinates when they enter the ship's control room. They are involved in a fierce shootout, but Sok-woo and Do-yeon manage to defeat Jong-do's subordinates. Do-yeon finds a surviving crew member and asks about emergency communication devices, learning that there is a satellite phone in the engine room. Jong-do, who has released the prisoners, faces opposition from Do-il, who advises him to give up his plan to hijack the cargo ship because they will inevitably run into trouble. Jong-do ignores Do-il's warnings and continues with his plan to kill the police and take control of the cargo ship. Upon hearing gunshots, Kyung-ho and Yoon-ji decide to lock themselves in the infirmary to avoid getting caught up in the chaos on the ship. While Jong-do heads to the engine room, Kun-bae is seen disposing of the police bodies in the walk-in refrigerator. Unbeknownst to them, the drain pipe in the room has a leak, causing the victim's blood to flow through the pipe and drip onto Alpha's face. Alpha, who should still be under the influence of drugs, unexpectedly wakes up and tries to free himself from his confinement. Sok-woo and his team arrive at the criminals' holding cell and are shocked to find their colleagues slaughtered and the criminals escaped. They rush to the engine room, where Jong-do is destroying the satellite phone and killing the crew members. As Jong-do is about to kill the last surviving crew member, Sok-woo and his team arrive and engage in a fierce fight. During the fight, Alpha, who has managed to free himself from his confinement, suddenly appears and brutally kills one of the criminals. Despite having a wire sewn into his face that blocks his vision, Alpha is able to locate his opponents using his ability to detect body heat and his keen sense of smell. Alpha is a tough and fast individual who is capable of easily defeating his opponents with a single attack. When Jong-do witnesses Alpha brutally killing people, he decides to flee and begin shooting at others randomly. However, Alpha pursues Jong-do and quickly kills his subordinates before engaging in a fierce battle with him. Despite being a dangerous criminal who has killed many people, Jong-do is no match for Alpha and is brutally beaten and killed in a cruel manner. Meanwhile, Do-il, Sok-woo, De-yun, and a prisoner named Su-chul, who survived the massacre carried out by Alpha, attempt to escape the location. Do-il briefly fights with Alpha in order to distract him from Sok-woo and the others who are attempting to escape. They ultimately succeed in escaping from the engine room after passing through an automatic steel door that closes just before Alpha can reach them. At the command center, Dae-woong uses satellite imagery to investigate the events that took place on the cargo ship after contact was lost with Sok-woo and his team. Upon seeing the massacre that occurred on the ship, Dae-woong is shocked and discovers that the criminals who had escaped from their cells are responsible. At the same time, he receives a call from a man nicknamed the CEO, who seems to be aware of the massacre and orders Dae-woong to clean up the situation. The mysterious CEO has a number on his chest similar to the number on Alpha's body. The CEO, who seems to have a similar background as Alpha and has a specific purpose for wanting Alpha, orders Dae-woong to bring Alpha to him. On the cargo ship, the two crew members who survived the massacre try to escape in a lifeboat, but Alpha quickly catches up to them and brutally kills them both. Yoon-ji, who is in the infirmary, witnesses the murder through the cabin window. Alpha quickly discovers Yoon-ji's location and breaks the window, killing her with a single hand. Kyung-ho, who saw this, flees and eventually meets up with Sok-woo and the others. Under pressure from Sok-woo, Kyung-ho admits that he was paid to inject Alpha with drugs to make him sleep during the trip. However, Kyung-ho does not know what caused Alpha to suddenly wake up and carry out the massacre. Sok-woo instructs De-yun and the others to go to a safe place while he searches for survivors of the massacre. In another room, Kun-bae and Myung-ju meet up with the other criminals after overpowering the police guards. Alpha suddenly appears and attacks them indiscriminately, but they manage to survive and try to escape by taking the elevator. However, Alpha is able to easily pursue them by climbing the elevator ceiling and shooting at them. Sok-woo, who is present, rushes to save Myung-ju and removes her from the elevator, while Kun-bae is killed when the elevator cable is cut and the elevator falls at high speed. Sok-woo believes that Alpha may have died with Kun-bae, but Alpha is actually still alive and is able to stand up and climb the wall to reach Sok-woo's location. Upon seeing Alpha, Sok-woo quickly takes Myung-ju away and hides her in a walk-in refrigerator while he prepares to fight Alpha, even though he knows he cannot win against the dangerous criminal. Sok-woo manages to injure Alpha's right arm during the fight, but Alpha ultimately kills him. Myung-ju, who sees that Sok-woo has been defeated, pretends to be dead by lying among the corpses in the refrigerator. Fortunately, Alpha, who enters the walk-in refrigerator, does not notice that Myung-ju is still alive and leaves her alone. At the same time, Do-il and the others arrive at the room where Alpha is locked up and discover documents detailing Alpha's background, revealing that he is a soldier from 1943 who was sent to the Philippines. When Alpha and his comrades arrived in the Philippines, they were captured by Japanese soldiers and used as experimental subjects in a project to create superhumans who would later be used as deadly weapons in war. Kyung-ho investigates the experiment and learns that Alpha has enhanced strength and speed beyond that of normal humans, and is highly sensitive to sound and the smell of blood. In addition, Alpha's body does not experience cell aging, suggesting that he may be immortal. A flashback to the past shows several high-ranking Japanese military officials celebrating the success of the superhuman experiments, but Alpha, the experimental subject, suddenly wakes up and kills everyone in the room. In the present, Dae-woong travels to the cargo ship with the elite forces, who are members of a secret organization. The elite forces inject a serum into their bodies to increase their strength and speed in order to face Alpha. Upon arriving at the cargo ship, Dae-woong meets Myung-ju, who asks for his help, but he unexpectedly kills her because his only goal is to catch Alpha. Dae-woong also kills De-yun and the others, leaving Do-il as the sole survivor. It is revealed that Do-il and Dae-woong know each other because Do-il is an experimental subject with the same number of engravings as Alpha and the CEO. Do-il purposely gets caught so that he can return to South Korea and hunt down Dae-woong and the secret organization that made him an experimental subject. In the past, Du Il and several other individuals were kidnapped by people from Dae Woong's secret organization and used as experimental subjects for Project Wolf hunting. The experiment on Du Il and the others was declared a failure because they were believed to be dead. However, Du Il unexpectedly revives, indicating that the experiment was actually successful. Du Il hides from Dae Woong and the secret organization and starts a new life, eventually marrying the woman he loves and having a baby boy. However, Dae Woong and the secret organization discover that Du Il is still alive and begin hunting for him. They eventually find him and kill his family. In the present, Du Il, motivated by a desire for revenge for his family's death, disguises himself as a dangerous criminal in order to return to South Korea. During the confrontation between Du Il and Dae Woong, Alpha appears and attacks them. A fierce battle ensues between Dae Woong and the elite forces against Alpha, who easily defeats the latter. During the fight with Dae Woong, Alpha appears to be at a disadvantage because Dae Woong has injected himself with a serum that increases his strength multiple times, allowing him to defeat Alpha. Dae Woong then continues fighting Du Il, who refuses to give up and fiercely fights back. Eventually, Du Il is able to corner Dae Woong and throws himself into the sea with Dae Woong. It is revealed that the CEO is actually one of the soldiers who were used as experimental subjects by the Japanese in 1943, just like Alpha. However, the CEO is tougher than Alpha and was able to establish a secret organization to continue conducting superhuman experiments, one of which involved Du Il. At his headquarters, the CEO meets a boy who is one of his experimental subjects. Surprisingly, the boy turns out to be Du Il's son, who is still alive and being held captive at the base because Dae Woong realized that the boy inherited his father's superhuman gene, which makes him the only superhuman born who does not require a serum to increase his strength. The film ends with Du Il surviving after falling into the sea. He swims to the mainland and is determined to continue his revenge by destroying the people in the secret organization who killed his family. The moral message of the film is to never use humans or living things as experimental subjects because they may turn against us and seek revenge for the suffering they have endured.